Hello and welcome to the Old Man Orange podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunigan.
And first, I want to kind of say some stuff. I want you guys all to go and check out our brand new website, oldmanorange.com. Nice and simple. You can now download all our podcasts on iTunes. Zune will be there on the way. I don't know what's taking so long on that. But also, check us out at, so if you don't have an iPod or anything like that, and you want to download them for like MP3s and stuff, you can check them out at oldmanorangepodcast.podomatic.com. And there, you can download them for anything, so it's kind of cool.
And we also got our YouTube channel, or your YouTube channel.
Oh, well, we always have the YouTube channel, which I'm assuming that's where most people are going to be listening to it first.
Yeah, but you
So
just type
in Old Man Orange Productions on YouTube and you'll find it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, check out the website. Leave us some feedback, like us, or rate us on iTunes. That would be real cool so it moves up in the world. Download, all the fun stuff.
You know the drill.
But today we went and saw Judge Dredd. Or as they could just call it nowadays, Dredd for
3D.
Short.
Ours was in 3D.
Well, yeah. Well, we didn't just go to see the 3D one because the 3D's dumb. But
well, I didn't want to see in 3D anyway. But it
plus,
was like
that $3 is dumb too.
It was titled Dredd 3D. Yet it was not on any 3D screens. I'm surprised they still kept it.
Well, nowadays too, we also live in the world where like we have to shorten everything. Like you can't just have long titles. You know, I mean, you go up to look up the yellow pages nowadays, and it's just called like YP. It's like, is it really that big of a deal? I mean, do we live in a generation now that's like, if it's more than 5 characters, I'm not gonna like mess with it.
I don't know. I don't understand it either. But I think they just wanted to do something to separate it from Judge Dredd, so people wouldn't think it was a remake of the Sylvester Stallone one.
Yeah, I think it was kind of like a marketing scheme too, just to kind of like, I mean.
Plus, it looked a lot. I mean, you could still tell it was Dredd, but it looked a lot different from the Sylvester Stallone one, I thought.
Mm-hmm. Now, this movie was pretty darn badass. I'm gonna say right off the beginning. I was actually really impressed. That was probably one of the best movies I've seen in quite some time.
Usually, we kind of walk out of a lot of these things not on the same page, but this one we were very much on the same page.
Well, nowadays it's just one of those ones. Like, I mean, not to become a movie snob, but sometimes I just get really picky about movies. And then I was listening to Kevin Smith, and he's always so optimistic. I tried to be optimistic for a while, for about a month or two, and then that brought even more negativity. No, I started going like, fuck some of these movies. I know what.
Optimism fucking sucks.
I tried it. It's very difficult to be optimistic. I give people credit for being optimistic. But Judge Dredd, though, is fucking badass. I really liked it. Pretty much the way to sum it up easily is it's a cop movie, like, and he's kind of like, in a sense, stuck in a prison. It's not technically a prison, but that's really what it is.
He's a lot like Clint Eastwood. Like, Judge Dredd was originally somewhat based off Clint Eastwood, wasn't he?
Slightly. I think that, like, the guy that originally wrote the comic, or the comic strip in England, he wrote a lot of Dirty Harry-esque comics beforehand, so I think that's where it kind of comes from.
Because Carl Urban really, it sounds like the whole time he's putting on his best Clint Eastwood voice. And he actually does a good job. I kind of forgot I was watching Bones from Star Trek, because it's really cool, because a lot of times I like to take off the helmet. I never really read a Dredd comic in my life. But it was cool seeing him not take off the helmet. It was just Dredd. We didn't really need to give him much personality beyond that, and that's fine.
The main problem with like almost anything is it comes down to even like superheroes and stuff is they gotta take their fucking mask off at some point. Now I'm fine with them, you know, taking them off like when they're not in their actual costume, but like it's kind of like even Captain America. His mask gotta come off like
they gotta show off
halfway in that
face.
bat, and and it's just kind of like
we are kind of in that age where it's like. The mask is kind of silly. Throw it on him for a little while, and at some point, Shatari alien's gonna rip off his mask. The rest of the Avengers is gonna be off.
Yeah, it's just so people know that that's actually an actor and not just some stunt double.
Yeah.
God forbid a stunt double gets credited in our movie.
I think more than anything, it's just like they want to market that pretty face. Like, marketing says the mask isn't too good, so let's just make him wear the mask only when he needs to.
See, but that was a bad
thing. This movie,
in Judge Dredd, though, or Dredd. I don't say call it Judge Dredd because it's just weird to call a movie Dredd.
Yeah.
It's like a Captain America movie, just like America, or like a Wolverine movie, just Logan. You know, that's not like his last name, but
Spider-Man, man.
What are you going to see there? Oh, I'm going to see Man.
New Batman movie, Bat.
What other funny ones could there be out of that?
See, we could have.
I'm drawing a blank here, but
Let's see. That's what they do probably
See,
with
some
like the
of them we kind
reboots.
of like. You could have one like Snake for like Solid Snake.
Solid Snake. Let's see. We could do.
You gotta simplify
If they come out with the Sonic the Hedgehog movie franchise,
it.
and then
Hedgehog.
yeah, they come out with a Hedgehog movie, and then eventually gets rebooted, just Hedgehog. You know which one?
That's one you feel like they would do it the opposite way, like Sonic without the hedgehog, but like.
Yeah, that's for the reboot. They just call it Hedgehog for the reboot. You know.
Yeah, because like they got a point like you'll come and see it.
Mm-hmm. Well, the Wolverine movie sometimes they get kind of lazy because then Wolverine 2, it's just gonna be called The Wolverine.
Yeah, sometimes when they do that thing where like they don't really give a like that's something I always kind of drives me up the wall is why don't you like I personally think that if it's gonna be a sequel or anything like that, just give it a numeral title.
They sometimes want to do that just so it's like, the last one kind of sucks, so we don't really want to associate ourselves with it. This one's gonna make up for it. That's kind of like their view.
But it's still in the same chronological order.
Yeah,
We're not taking anything back.
they kind of did in First Class. Everything got all mixed up.
Yeah, well,
but
First
yeah.
Class, I just felt like that team didn't give a fuck about the Wolverine Origins team.
Yeah. But then there was regarding the it was well
But
for
back to
instance,
anything, the whole point is that Dredd has his mask on the whole time and doesn't fucking take it off to show a pretty face.
yeah.
He's just all man and all badass.
Well, he says a lot of cheesy lines in the movie, but just his delivery and the timing of the lines,
Well, see,
it's
and me,
perfect.
I don't even consider those lines cheesy. Like, I guess because I always grew up watching movies that said those kind of lines, so they don't come across cheesy to me.
Well,
They just like one-liners to me are just badass. If you can say them right, this is how they go. If you say them right, they're badass. If you say them wrong, then they're cheesy.
A lot of the times they just get people who can't really act that good or can't make you that believable about it saying it. Where this movie, Carl Urban was like nailing it on every time. I thought
They were awesome. And just the whole scope of this movie, like actually I was kind of surprised because when I saw the trailer, I didn't realize the movie actually just took place in one tall building that gets locked up. Like because you see a couple like I mean a 3-minute trailer and you see about like 5 like exposing like wide shots. You're like, oh, I guess it takes place.
well, this movie's not actually an American movie. I think it was South African and a British joint production.
Really, like no American whatsoever.
Well, Carl Urban, but I don't know about anybody unless he's like a British actor. I don't know. I'm assuming he's American.
Well, it is Lionsgate, so that means it could come from anywhere.
Yeah, because Kick-Ass is a British movie. So
Yeah.
but anyway, that was Lionsgate, wasn't it?
I think it was.
But anyway, back to Dredd though. This was actually a
Did you
pretty
hear
good
that Jim
movie.
Carrey's gonna be in Kick-Ass too?
I haven't read the Kick-Ass 2 comic, so I don't know who he's going to be, but I heard about that, yeah.
Yeah, well, I didn't read the Kick-Ass 2 comic either, but I just heard that.
We'll see who he is. I still got to read that, so we'll see what happens. But back on Dredd, though, it does seem weird. Nicolas Cage, now Jim Carrey, you know. But back to Dredd. This movie, it was actually, it was almost kind of like the bottled factor. When you think about it, it would probably help them save money. Because, like, listen, the last one, people hated. We don't want to put a whole lot of money into it. And they did good. The script was actually pretty well written.
No.
It was all with, and the whole bottle film aspect probably made it a lot cheaper and actually worked really well with the movie. Because I think one of the problems with comic book movies, I think it's one of two things a lot of times. Not all the time, but a lot of time. They either try and get too much in there, so certain things get left out, and they somewhat, while trying to overly complicate it, they make it somewhat simplified, if that makes any sense. Do you get what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
They'll try and get too much in there, so everything seems somewhat shortened. Or we just don't have enough in there in the first place. Now, I never read a Dredd comic before, but it would seem really awesome. It's like, okay, this is Dredd. We know who he is. You get the sense of him. We get the sense of him within the first 10 minutes. You get the sense of who this guy is.
And that's how you're supposed to make a movie, in my opinion. You're supposed to, like, you don't have to sit down, hold the audience's hand, and tell them, like, their story from birth on forward. I really think that you can just let a character be who they are, and the audience will understand. I think we all know that sometimes an audience can be retarded, and I think that people, like, assume too many times that the audience is just full-blown an idiot.
This movie doesn't treat you that way.
And no, this movie doesn't treat you like that. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, I think if they make another Batman movie,
this is the way they
you
should
should
do
be
it.
able to walk in just right there and be like, "Yep, that's Batman." Do we need to explain why he's Batman? No, we already fucking know this by now. It's been 70 fucking years.
That's what they should do the next Batman. I'm not saying Batman should run around killing people and blowing them up with a gun or nothing.
Well, it makes me wonder because like I have a couple like, and I think the main reason I haven't got to these Judge Dredd comics yet, but it's like this Batman Judge Dredd comics. It seems like a really strange combination. Well, let me explain my experience on Judge Dredd. When I was a kid, like you'd go to like the market or something with like your parents, and you got nothing better to do but kind of like hang out at the magazine comic book rack area, and that was when they had comic book racks at like any store you went to almost. And that's where I remember I used to flip through them. But, you know, you just kind of look and go, cool, cops, violence, 90s, because that's what they were at the time. And then my only other experience with really Judge Dredd was the Stallone movie, which when we were kids we liked that one a lot. I haven't seen it in a while. I really meant to watch it before I went to see this one, but I just
So
got
did
lazy
I.
and
I
I
was
didn't
gonna
get
call
to.
you like you probably have that movie. You don't though.
No, I don't.
I was gonna call you like if anybody
I
has
was
a
gonna pick
movie.
it up.
If anybody has a movie, it's Spencer. That's what I was thinking.
And
But
it's like
yeah.
I didn't have that one, so it's like I got kind of lazy there. And then the other thing too is I used to play the Judge Dredd video game for Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo a lot, which is a really badass one. It's based off the movie, but the way that it was made was really cool because in that game, not only can you like kill people along the way too, you can actually arrest them in that game. And back in the day, like what fucking game could you arrest somebody in?
That's pretty cool.
I mean, small features like that blew your mind.
Was it based off the movie or
Yeah,
was it okay?
based off the movie.
Well, I don't remember. I remember like I liked Dredd when I was a kid. The Judge Dredd when I was a kid. I liked the Sylvester Stallone movie, and then I watched it again like late high school, and I didn't like it because like oh it's almost too cheesy. It's too over the top. I don't know how I'd feel because there's that point in high school you go like where you just kind of hate everything.
Well, there's
And
that point in high school where it's like you're not necessarily like a movie snob. You're like this guy that like
it's
you're
not mature, so I can't like it.
I
Kinda
guess
that.
you're like a form of a movie snob, but you don't really have actually any expertise or skills
Exactly.
developed yet.
Yeah, pretty much.
So what you want, you know, you don't even really know what you want.
But yeah, so in that movie, I mean, who knows? I don't. What I recall, I don't remember liking it that much, but I might like it now. We'll see. This one though, I liked right when I saw it, and I thought that it was cool because the first one it had that very 90s cyberpunk feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was very, flying cars everywhere. It was very much kind of like, like Total Recall or Super Mario Brothers. It sounds weird when you say Super Mario Brothers and
That's
cyberpunk.
one of the best cyberpunk movies I can think of. Like when I really get down to it.
90s cyberpunks, yeah. And then, but then as the movie goes on, as you watch it, I thought they did a good job of presenting Mega City because it looked like sometimes you say realistic, it kind of annoys me, but they did a good job of making it realistic but believable in the sense of like it wasn't like it didn't look like the city from Fifth Element or something. It was very much looked kind of like a fusion between like Johannesburg, L.A. after like a third world war, just all bottled in one, overpopulation. And a lot of the people in the movie, they all looked like this movie was incredibly 90s, but not in that like almost mocking way. It was very much like this felt like the 90s.
No, that's what I liked about the movie too. Is they didn't try to make it feel like it was a 2000s movie, which that's always kind of makes me kind of annoyed. That's kind of like the new Total Recall. They have everything's bright, everything's shiny, everything's smooth. You got to plug in like a ton of Mexican and black characters. I'm not saying that's like a bad thing, but just they feel like they're plugged in. It doesn't feel like it's natural sometimes, But this one just felt like it really kind of had that whole 90s feel. You know what I mean? It was just like kind of like these punks and these gangs and the graffiti and even the music kind of had a 90s feel. Almost felt kind of like video game-ish, like hard rock / like kind of techno-ish. So it was pretty like,
but not in like kind of a mocking kind of way, which sometimes certain things like to do.
No, it just felt like it had like
it felt very natural.
It just felt like it had kind of like that like late 80s, early 90s like sci-fi vibe, which is badass because that's like in my opinion like the best time of sci-fi movies.
Nearly all the white, with the exception of Dredd, because you never see his face with the helmet. Pretty much all the white people in that movie, they either have a bunch of tattoos all over the face or like a goatee.
Yeah.
or they're like the hacker kid with the long hair and the skater kids or whatever. Yeah.
Skater. Well, yeah,
the
know, 90s kids were a lot of like the. This was a couple white guys. It was one of those movies. It still came across though. Like I thought, it kind of makes me laugh at movies, but like it was just like Judge Dredd. It's a white. There's a white guy going in with a blonde-haired girl, and they're here to stop.
I was thinking that
because really the only other really main white person was the hacker and the main boss lady. But everybody else was like a bunch of like minorities in a sense.
Well, his boss was African American.
Well, no, there's a couple more African American guys in there too, but it was just like almost him going in, taking down a bunch of black guys, and they were carrying a black guy along for like half the movie, anyways.
The guy who's gonna be their prime suspect, yeah.
So they're just dragging him.
He ended up fucking killing him anyway, so it doesn't matter. But which for a while that guy was just kind of there, and the one logic gap I think there is in that movie. It's not the biggest thing in the world, but one of the big logic gaps I thought was for a while they're carrying this guy along, and the bad guy of the film, which is a chick named Mama, she's an ex hooker who's now like the biggest drug dealer in this like 200-story building, and she more or less controls the whole thing.
And the drugs they sell are these things called slow-mo, which makes everything run at like 1% in your brain.
and everything, and like the colors get very bright and vibrant and shiny and everything.
So they really in this movie they actually really took advantage of like having some like real like
300 times 1,000.
well yeah so like extraordinarily high. It almost feels like 600 frames a second or something like that because I mean
Mhm.
it's real slow mo. I mean it's amazing almost how slow mo it like sort of gets in some scenes. It's actually kind of cool, kind of nice visual treat.
Yeah. And so anyway, she's an ex whore who pretty much kills a pimp and takes over his business and becomes the ruler of this gang.
She wipes out all
And
the other gangs in the thing too.
yeah, she did that. And then what happens is when they go in to arrest somebody, they she actually locks up the place because if they get this guy, they have this I wish I remember the actor's name, but this prime suspect they get, he's gonna end up giving out all the information about them and just get him all behind bars. So they lock him in and end up just yeah, it's they have to work their way to the top and almost kind of like Game of Death, the original Game of Death.
Yeah, it sort of kind of like that, just kind of working your way up. Kind of also reminds me kind of like other kind of like just kind of like these like sort of prison, any kind of cop stuck in a prison movie, just where it's just like
Yeah,
shit's going down.
because it's not a prison movie.
It's not a
It
prison,
feels like one,
but it like when it gives like that exact same vibe though. I mean, it's just almost like a prison in Mexico, like just a bunch of like poor people kind of like locked into like a building or rooms and stuff, and they kind of live off very little.
well, it's just this apartment that has like a bunch of businesses and apartments all in one, and it's almost kind of like a miniature city inside of one large city. It's kind of
Yeah,
what this
that's
thing's
pretty much like
like.
what those prisons are in Mexico.
Yeah.
Like
All right.
they're a lot more free roaming. You just pretty much what it is. It's just like take a town.
It's like Arkham City.
Yeah, it's really no. That's what a prison in Mexico is kind of like. You take a town, you just put walls up along the side, and then call it a day. Have a couple guards stand around to shoot him, but he gets out of line. But other than that, though, it's not like they're behind bars or anything. They're fucking living. Their families can move in and shit.
Oh, right on. Good for them.
Works out well, I guess.
Not in this movie. It doesn't work out well.
No, those people just seem to kind of have a shitty life.
Yeah. No. So I guess sound just movie's pretty badass. Don't know what to say about that.
It's one of those movies I recommend it. It's filled with great action, good violence.
Violence pretty intense. There's a part. Go ahead.
No,
Yeah.
you can continue yours.
I like the part. Spoiler, but this show's full of spoilers. Who we kidding? There's a part where Mama gets thrown out. That's the drug leader's name. The drug dealer's name, Mama. She gets thrown out of a balcony. It's in
That was
super
mama, like not like
Mama.
not like mama, like mama.
I thought it was spelled M-A-M-A.
I think it's just pronounced differently. Like it was
Yeah.
two separate words.
Oh, whatever. Okay, so
I mean, I don't know, but that's just how that's. How
I
they all-
assumed it was kind of like like yeah, okay. Anyway, so they chuck her out There's a part where Judge chucks her out the this building, and in slow motion, she's on slow mo as it happens, so she sees all this like just oversaturated, very crazy just imagery. She's falling down in super slow motion, and then when she hits the ground, her face lands into the camera, and you see her face split apart as she slowly crashes into the ground. The screen just fills with blood. It actually, very cool imagery.
No, yeah, it's like the violence is pretty darn good in it, though. I mean, I wasn't really too much to complain about in the violence department. I don't know. I mean, a couple times it cut away, and sometimes I always kind of wonder, it's like, why is it cut away there when it
There's like,
doesn't
it'll
cut
be like
away
a
other
chick.
stuff?
It'll cut away if it was like a chick getting shot or something like
Yeah,
that.
some small.
Unless
things,
it was the main bad guy.
sometimes small things like that still kind of bother me. It's just like ones.
And there's the one.
I don't know. If you're a major motion picture, I don't see a reason ever to cut away from violence. There's no reason to.
Mhm.
If you're an independent movie, I can understand because you just don't sign the budget for it.
This movie, there's actually a part where they have they're going after they try and get across this chick is very selfish and she doesn't care about anybody. Because there's a part where she gets a bunch of miniguns and just firing at Dredd and this other judge who's also this really hot blonde girl who's a psychic. We'll get into her in a second. And as they're running through, they're just firing through all these apartments, just killing anybody. And there's a part where it just kind of it's almost that kind of I understand they're trying to make it somewhat sad, but it's almost that thing to like the viewer, like just okay, we don't want to piss the viewer off too much. So when they're showing all this violence at the very beginning of this scene, you see like an Asian family grab like their 5-year-old son and duck him beneath something, and then it cuts to all this chaotic violence of just people getting shot up, blown to nothing. And then after all that, they just show that 5-year-old kid, push like a chair over him. He's alive. Like, oh, at least the kid made it. You know,
Yeah.
all like hundreds of people were just wiped out.
But that kid.
that one Asian kid we saw, good thing he made it. I mean, yeah, I wasn't wishing death upon him, but it was just one of those things. Oh, that makes up for it. It's okay now.
That movie also kind of had like a lot of moments that were like I don't know. I just found it funny. Like it had a lot of just like light kind of comedy stuff. Like not like it's a comedy
Well,
movie, but
stuff you and I only laugh at.
yeah, like well, a lot of the things that Judge says in that one are just kind of like hilarious. Or Dredd, I should say Dredd, because that Judge is
There's
describing a
more
lot
than
more
one
characters.
judge, yeah.
But like everything he says, a lot of times he just has some funny one-liners.
The chick in the movie, she's actually, they get across that people who are overly contaminated become mutants, and usually they're ugly or freakish looking. This chick came out looking normal. She just has psychic abilities, so that actually comes into play, and that actually makes her a little bit more useful. She can see what people are going to do before they do it. And there's a part where, and I guess they mainly need to show off a hot chick in the movie. That's the reason she doesn't wear a helmet. The real reason. But the judge says, "Why aren't you wearing your helmet?" He's like, "Well, it interferes with my psychic ability. It also interferes with the bullet to the brain."
Yeah, they said a bunch of like just little things like that. Like I don't know, it made me laugh a lot in that movie.
Mm-hmm. He has a lot of good little lines in that flick. It's kind of one of those things. I don't know what to say other than it's a really. I mean, if you're like an art snob, you're not gonna like this movie. But if you just like a good old fashioned action film, this does everything the way it should
No,
be
yeah,
done.
it's really just like a badass action film done right. All feels good,
Mhm.
good violence, good writing, good story, good visuals.
And the lines that people will consider cheesy, they don't come across cheesy because Carl Urban does a good job delivering them, and he delivers them at the right exact moment.
And if you think those lines are cheesy, you don't fucking like action movies then. You're just a fucking faggot.
It's a man's movie.
Yeah, that's
We don't
right.
need to go into that. We don't need.
Yeah.
We're gonna come across as like the old man orange hate cast. Don't.
I will be the hate cast against that because sometimes it just pisses me off when people are like.
You don't mean, just to clarify, you don't mean.
I'm gonna stop you there for a second.
All right.
You keep blocking me.
All right, go ahead.
This is the thing that always bothers me in life, though, in movies. People always solely judge movies based off like them in a drama style. They don't judge an action movie, they don't judge a comedy, and they don't judge a horror movie as a different style of movie. They all bring it back to like a drama. So if the script and the story and all this stuff is not like compelling enough, like they don't go into the action, they don't go into like the violence, and they don't even go into the comedy if it's a comedy movie. It's always based off that drama. That's one thing. People always judge movies towards drama section.
And I agree with you there. But what I was going to say, I wasn't going to disagree with you on that at all. I was just going to evaluate. By faggot, you of course mean douchebags, not homosexual.
Well, duh.
All right, just
it's
double
2012.
Checking.
Faggot doesn't mean homosexual anymore.
I know. I'm just double checking. We just had to clarify because there's some people out there like my brother's gay or something like that.
Well, yeah, that person's probably stuck in like some backwater territory land.
Yeah. I'm just double checking on that one. Okay. Anyway, no, I agree with you. There are a lot of people out there that do just like have to base something on, well, the way Antichrist was made or whatever, just that kind of shit.
Well, the Antichrist was fucking retarded. Now, let's get a good actor, put him in a movie, and make the movie shit and stupid as fuck, and a bunch of like teenagers are gonna think it's cool.
I don't know how you sleep like when a drill's being put through your whole entire leg.
No, that movie's retarded.
But anyway, I like the part where the fox says chaos reigns, but yeah, beyond that. But anyway.
The trailers are pretty sweet, though. We got to see The Last Stand again with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Nothing new there, but all badass as always.
We got to see Man with the Iron Fist for the 800th time.
Yep,
in
I see
4
that.
months.
I see that with every movie I go and see. That trailer's there. Nothing's fucking changed in it, but it's still badass as always.
I wonder if you go see that Hotel Transylvania movie this weekend, if it's going to be in front of that.
Oh, no, speaking of in front of that, they had Hugh Jackman introduced, I'm going to mispronounce this because I've mispronounced it for the last 10 years. The Law of
Miserable or whatever?
No, it's Miserabs. Whatever, it's French, it's a play, it's Broadway. But it was in front of it was in front of Dredd. That's all I have to say. There was this one about sad Broadway singing play.
Here's the thing about that. I understand if you put that in front of like the first, they obviously they paid like some kind of endorsement with Regal to show it, but I assumed it would be like one of those when you get like before the movie starts, here's some stuff on upcoming movies, not the trailers, just like things on TV shows and whatever coming out, and I assumed it would be on something like that, but it literally right after like now the trailers, but first Hello, I'm Hugh Jackman, and today we're going to talk
We're gonna do a
about,
little bit of singing and dancing.
which I haven't seen it, so I can't judge that play, but a lot of those type of plays always come across to me pretentious and sad singing. That's what they always come across to me.
I don't know. It's almost once like there's very few musicals out there that I can actually go, oh, okay, that's okay. But I don't know. I guess because musicals just aren't serious enough. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just almost one. It's kind of like it's unrealistic. Nobody would do that in real life. It's not really believable.
Mhm.
I mean, you really got to put a lot of effort in to make me believe this.
I don't know. It's just not my thing. So we'll see how that turns out, though. No, we won't. I'm not gonna go fucking pay
I'm
to
not
see
gonna
it.
pay to see
But
that. Hugh Jackman doesn't
we'll
sell
see
things
what
off
the.
that well.
Well, there's a lot of actors in there I like. There's Russell Crowe, Hugh Jackman, Anne Hathaway.
And have look ugly as hell in that movie.
They're
Though.
trying to like, well, we're trying to go with the gritty truth. And the gritty truth is people saying in, I guess, in the 1700s, but okay. And yeah, so I guess that's coming out. So see it if you want to. But then we come to actually something that was surprising. Actually, we'll get to Wreck-It Ralph later because I got a lot I want to say about that movie. But we also saw a trailer for how they kill Osama bin Laden, which I don't want to
Oh
be this
yeah,
guy.
that movie looked cool.
It looks cool, but here's the one thing I want to say about that. There's a time where we used to wait a little while before that shit came out. It hasn't been. It's been under a year. They're already making a movie on it.
I guess. I mean, you kind of almost want them to make sure that they got all the facts straight before they just kind of jump in it. I'm glad we don't live in that kind of time though, like because that was one thing that's like bothered me about when 9/11 happened is they canceled so many movies or postponed them
Mm-hmm.
because it had like there was a terrorist character in there and stuff like that. It's just like
So fucking.
grow a pair of fucking balls, you know. Other countries get bombings every fucking day.
Yeah.
Well, they probably still wouldn't release movies anyways, but still, it's just one of those ones like that shouldn't be a reason to stop a movie from coming out.
Mhm.
Or a video game or anything else like that. I mean, let it come out. I mean, even if the movie was about like two guys or like a bunch of terrorist guys hijacking planes and crashing them in New York, let that movie come out because clearly that was made in some other circumstance.
Yeah. Well, my whole thing is just seems kind of. This is gonna sound like I don't know, maybe overly moralistic or something. I just think there's a time where you used to wait a little while before we made a movie on it. Now we just kind of as soon as it happens. I mean, it hasn't even been a year that he's been dead. Maybe it's been a year.
I think it's
But-
been a year almost.
Yeah, a year.
This time just goes by too fast.
And
nowadays.
so that kind of makes me wonder, like, how much of the facts they get in, if this thing was rushed, how accurate is it really?
Well, because
you know?
if you're seeing a trailer for it right now, and it was when I probably didn't say when it's coming out exactly, but I think it's
Mm-hmm.
probably in the next couple months. Let's just assume that.
Yeah.
That means that the movie probably was made, like 6 months maybe after that or something. I mean, obviously somebody jumped on the fucking ball really quickly to make that movie.
Yeah.
But I feel like we almost live in this time period now that if you don't make a movie about it right now, people won't know about it in 5 years.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Osama
He
bin Laden?
died, didn't he?
What did he do again? It's like 9/11. That was like so long ago. Like my great grandfather was in 9/11. Like it was like that's almost like how we live in this kind of age that like people just forget real quickly. So like if they don't jump on it right away, nobody's gonna know.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. I mean, it
But
looks
it
like a
still
good
looked like
movie.
a cool movie.
It
though.
looks like a good movie. I'm just surprised it's coming out as soon as it did.
It's
usually,
coming out soon, but I'd
usually
like to see that.
you'd see it like 4 years or 5 years later at least. But now, yeah.
What was that? There was that. What was that horror movie called?
There's Sinister.
Yeah, Sinister. And I saw the trailer for that for when it came out for Resident Evil.
Here's the thing I'm actually kind of curious about that movie. One of the sites that actually got me into like recording podcasts was spill.com. And there was a guy on that site. He was a guy I'd always agree with. Not always, but he's a guy I agreed with more than the other members of the site. I still check it out. It's a good site. And his name on the site was Carlisle. That was his alias. But his real name, I believe it's Robert C. Cargill. And he said, yeah, guys, I got to leave this site because I actually sold a script and I can't go into details of it, but I sold a script and I'll see you later. So he bounced on out, and this is apparently that script. So as a fan, so I'll be honest, the movie doesn't like jump out at me, but just seeing like a script from a movie critic, I'm curious to see how it comes out. And of course, there's always the script that gets written and the movie that gets made. So who knows?
Yeah,
but,
and then there's the script in between sometimes too.
yeah.
It's one of those movies like I don't know. As far as horror movies sometimes go, I always think horror movies have horrible trailers. Like trailers really never sell a horror movie very well
Mhm.
because you look at it and you're like that looks fucking retarded. But no. When you watch the movie, it might actually be kind of cool.
Yeah.
So that's just one of those ones you just probably have to see it to actually make a good judgment on it.
Exactly.
One of the others they had Taken 2 was on there,
Taken 2, yeah.
which badass as always.
gets taken.
Taken 2. It just sounds funny.
Actually, no, I gotta give credit. That was actually, I think I got that from Kevin Smith. But yeah, but it's kind of true because he gets taken and the wife gets taken. He obviously escaped at some point to save the wife, but yeah.
Liam Neeson killing people. The
It's
first
not,
one was
it's
really good. This one should be pretty good. I don't know how you could screw up on Liam Neeson. Actually, I take that back. I think some movies
Clash
have.
of the Titans.
Yeah. Never mind. But still, as long as the Liam Neeson's killing people, I don't think it could be bad.
Yeah, as long as he's killing. Then we also have.
But he does best.
Yeah.
I always love that line. It's like he had in the trailer. It's like, I'll just do what I do best. It's just like I
just shows him like blowing shit up and like Taken 2.
I just picture it like as Liam Neeson in that movie for some reason. That's even when I watched the first one, I just pictured it as like Liam Neeson. Like
It's not Liam Neeson his character. It's just Liam Neeson himself. This
yeah,
is what happens.
There's no character. This is just fucking Liam Neeson.
This is what happens between films for him.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody gets taken.
So then we had
Do you want to talk about the Wreck-It Ralph?
Of all movies to have in front of Dredd, Wreck-It Ralph, but yeah, it's not as bad as the fucking musical thing.
Yeah.
I'm curious about Wreck-It Ralph because well, first off, I can't remember the last time I was actually really looking forward to a PG rated Disney film. I can't remember the last time. And it's very simple. I mean, if you could have told me, okay, this is a movie about a video game character that jumps from different video games, like, oh, that might be kind of a cute movie. I might check it out. But the fact that they're willing, originally there's probably some Disney exec like, no, that's a lot of extra money. Let's not do it. But there had to be some forward-thinking guy in there that says, no, let's just give this a chance. They're using, if you guys haven't seen the trailer, they're using actual licensed characters in this movie. If you haven't seen the trailer, look it up. They have like Zangief from Street Fighter, Bison, Sonic's in the new trailer, Bowser, Kano from Street Fighter. They just have
Mortal Kombat.
Oh yeah, Mortal Kombat.
No, they got a lot. I know there's a lot, proclaimingly a lot of characters coming kind of from like Capcom and then Sega. So that's really cool as is because that's two of the best companies you could probably pick up. But then there's a bunch of other stuff, and that's really the selling point to me of that movie. It's just
Hubert,
like,
yeah,
the selling point to me is like, yeah, you got actual video game characters. I don't even care if they're cameos. I'm already gonna see it.
Yeah. They had like they came out with like a new thing of individual posters, and one of the individual posters has Sonic front and center. He's probably not going to be a main character, but I'm assuming at least predominant enough to be centered front piece in a poster.
If they have 10 lines, I will be happy.
Yeah,
you know
that's
I mean?
fine. Yeah,
I mean, I'm not asking much. I mean, I know it's a movie about like kind of a fictional character.
That's fine.
I've heard everybody else's nonfiction.
They're real by this point.
But yeah, check out that movie. It's called Wreck-It Ralph. The first couple times I heard it being like talked, I had no idea what it was really called. It's kind of like a Django Unchained. I didn't know that. It took me until I actually saw the trailer. I didn't realize it was called Unchained. I thought it was like Django and Chain, like it was two fucking characters. Sometimes you gotta kind of see the words and know what it really is saying.
Yeah, that movie looks really good. Old Django Unchained looks really good.
Oh yeah.
But Wreck-It Ralph, I'm curious about this movie because when you stop and think about it, video game movies, most movies based off video games suck. Movies inspired by video games, usually really good. Tron, Matrix, Scott Pilgrim versus the World,
Well, yeah, most of the things are always inspired. It's like, that's always a good one. I
Mhm.
wouldn't say all video game movies suck, but a majority of them
Majority, not all, but majority of them do.
Mhm.
And I think since you got a movie that has actual licensed characters in it, if this movie
it's kind of like the combo. It's like both. It's inspiration and real characters.
Yeah, and if you get something with this, I could see possibly. I mean, it might be bad, might be good though. They actually end up taking more stabs at some of the characters. And I mean, they're already coming out with a new Mortal Kombat. They might take another step because they're actually using Street Fighter characters. I can see maybe not Disney, but other companies jumping at the ball, trying to like make movie franchises out of some of the characters in this, like actual characters, like maybe
like Sonic.
I don't think there's a need for a Cubert or Dig Dug movie, but Sonic, yeah, like I could see Disney actually buying the rights to Sonic if this does good, or at least another company.
Hopefully not Disney, but
yeah.
I don't mind it for the Wreck-It Ralph movie, but I don't know.
Something else, but yeah, if they come out with a Sonic movie, I'll check that out.
That'd be pretty sweet. I think that was all the trailers. I don't think there's anything else.
Saw the trailer. There's some. I want to say there's something else. There's always
one trailer.
As soon as we click record off, like fuck, we forgot about that one.
Well, that was like the one time. I think it was like two movies ago, and it was we
Taken
missed
2.
Taken 2. It was like, well, that was the movie before we forgot. Like,
Yeah.
we remembered all those stupid movies.
There's Taken 2. Me, that was it, because nothing's ringing in my mind right now.
No, I
There's
think.
Silent Hill,
Oh
but we
yeah,
already
the
talked.
Silent Hill.
We briefly talked about that one
That
before.
one like looks pretty cool. It's like
Yeah.
I only played the first Silent Hill game, so it's like my knowledge is. It's like I don't know why I never played the other ones. I always wanted to, and I just
Mhm.
never did. I think because I don't know, just because I kept progressing with Resident Evil, and in life you only have enough time in life to play so many video games, so you pick and choose what you really want.
I'm a little curious because the first Silent Hill, in my opinion, even though it's no masterpiece, I think it's probably one of the better of the video game movies.
Yeah, I always said the
My
first
own,
Silent
yeah.
Hill was one of the top, like at least 5, maybe top 10 best video game movies they ever made.
And my only problem was just the way it ended. How apparently they were dead, but apparently I guess they're not dead, or at least the girl didn't die because she's in this running with her dad, and the dad's played by the same guy.
Mhm.
Oh, we did forget a big one, The Hobbit.
Oh yeah, The Hobbit. Fuck, and that's the best book
Mm-hmm.
out of the Lord of the Rings. I thought. Well,
Which they're gonna stretch.
maybe because that was the only Lord of the Rings books I could finish. The other ones just kind of like I don't know. Like The Hobbit had the best structure. The pacing was a little bit smoother in it.
They're gonna try and milk 3 movies out of this, I believe.
Now that's where
I
it kind
heard
of
that.
pissed me off because one, The Hobbit is the shortest of all the books.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe if they milk 2 movies out of it, I could be like, oh, whatever. But 3 sounds like okay. Now you're fucking pushing it, Peter Jackson.
I'm not a Tolkien fan. I mean, I like the Lord of the Rings movies. I read The Hobbit a long time ago. I barely remember it. Um, I'm kind of wondering, do you think they'll take elements of like what's it called, the Slytherin or the Smolder? It's pretty much the Middle Earth Bible. It says that the Middle Earth was created more or less. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, so like some of those other books that they have.
I'm wondering if they're gonna fuse that with The Hobbit or something.
Well, I don't know. For the one I'm just thinking is just
Because it's not that
if
long.
there's 3, I mean, if there is one movie, I'd probably say no way. But
Mhm.
if there's gonna be 3 movies of these, it's like, well, it's almost like I don't know how you're gonna pull out 3 movies of this. I really just don't understand. Because I mean, how many pages is that book? Like 300 and something pages. It wasn't
I'm
that long.
guessing it's. I guess each movie's probably gonna be just an hour and a half,
Yeah, I mean that's how I
hour
can.
20 minutes maybe.
But I can't imagine that because those movies mostly always come out as like 2.5. You think they just make one fucking epic like 3 hour
3 hour
long movie?
Yeah, why not?
Probably need to make even 3. Probably make a 2.5 hour movie and cover
Mhm.
everything you need to in that.
Because the other ones, they're always like 2.5 hours to 3.5 hours.
So I'd like to go see that one. I'm not the biggest Lord of the Rings fan, but
Neither am I.
that's the book I like. I like that book more than the other one. So I saw all the other ones, so might as well.
Yeah, I'm
And it looks
really
pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, it looks pretty good. There's nothing I can really complain about too much there.
Yeah. So I'm just not a big Hobbit fan. I mean, I'll go check it out and I'll see it, I'll enjoy it, but I'm not one of those people. I mean, when I first saw Lord of the Rings when I was younger, I thought it was really cool, but now I'm just like, oh yeah, sure, that's cool.
Yeah, it kind of blows your mind first, and you're like, oh.
And you're like, well, I got this thing called Star Wars. It's always been here. It's always been pretty good.
Yeah,
Not to take it to the Clerks 2 debate, but
it's always kind of like treated me well.
yeah, at least the first 3 Star Wars.
And
But
if
yeah.
I want a new one, I got the Matrix.
Exactly.
So I'm pretty well covered.
People hate Matrix 2 and 3. I don't understand that.
I could never figure that one out too. That if you like Matrix ones, I don't know how you don't like Matrix 2 and 3.
I mean, Matrix 1, I'll say, is the better movie, but 2 and 3 aren't bad movies in my opinion. So
I personally I like Matrix 2. That's probably my favorite one. Almost. I know it's got some kind of shitty CG at some points, but whatever. They're in the Matrix. I will totally make do with that.
The world's biggest video game, yeah. Anyway, this is actually,
Now here's a podcast part where we go into a DVD instead of a movie.
which we don't actually have real segments. We just kind of talk about
We
this.
just talked about this, but
This movie, yeah, go ahead.
well, I was just gonna announce that Cabin in the Woods just came out on DVD on Tuesday.
I bought it.
Yes, Ryan bought it, and who's it directed by again? Because it's not directed by
Joss Whedon was the
yeah,
writer.
Joss
He
Whedon
produced
produced
it,
and wrote it,
and
and
the
then
director wrote it also.
and then
Drew Goddard.
yeah, now that guy wrote and directed it,
Mm-hmm.
and well, I just want to say what I kind of thought on it. I thought the movie, the way it starts out, I thought the movie was kind of stupid actually. The way it started out, I was not too impressed. It seemed, I guess, because I've seen so many horror movies in my entire life that like, I know that they're going to make it. I know they're going to make it stereotypical. That was their plan. Was they wanted to make it stereotypical. But it's just one of those ones like I guess when you just see so many horror movies, it's just like it's almost so stereotypical that it's just kind of like almost annoying. Like I'm not even like getting any pleasure out of it, even though I know it's kind of supposed to be a setup. Because the whole thing about this is it's supposed to be like ritual sacrifices from like back in the day, like where you would sacrifice a virgin, throw her in the volcano, cut her heart out. I don't know. I keep saying a woman. It could be a man too. But like apocalypto.
The woman's
sort of.
more popular.
But yeah, that's what you always see. But it's like that, like in a modern day where they do it like in like almost like a reality TV style. I guess is the best way to describe it.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, once that movie starts getting towards the end, the movie becomes like the fucking amazing concept and idea. because they give you little tidbits throughout the movie because they show kind of like, I guess it's almost like Office Space humor. That's what you said,
Yeah.
and that's what I really thought when I watched them. Like that is definitely Office Space humor. But they kind of show you like in like the TV broadcasting room, and kind of like then there's these kids that are like the stereotypical horror movie kids, and they kind of give you little tidbits that something else is going on here. They're doing, all these things are kind of happening for kind of a reason.
Mm-hmm.
But it's got kind of funny parts. I like when they're placing bets on like how these kids are going to kill
Well, if
themselves.
you actually look, they say, because there's a part of the movie where they come up with how should I say this? I'll jump on what I think of it in a second, but there's a part where they're betting on how the kids are going to die because every movie, every horror film, I never thought about this, but every horror film, there's a part where they go into a basement or they come across something.
It's not every horror movie.
Not a basement, but they come across something where they learn about whatever's about to attack them. And there's a part where you see inside this office, you see all these office workers. There's this big board. If you look at the board, it's just naming off different monsters and different creatures. One of them was funny because this is a straight up like Evil Dead reference. Angry molesting tree. I don't know if you pause it and look for them. One of them was angry molesting tree.
There's a handful of them on there that made me really laugh.
And then you see them all flipping through just this different shit in the basement. And there's a girl, the main character, just happens to pick up this one thing first and read it aloud, totally making an homage to Evil Dead.
Uh-huh.
And then you see a bunch of people in the office go, "Fuck, man!" They're all pissed off because they picked the other monster that they didn't bet on. And then like you see one guy just all pissed off with his arms crossed. Like you'll see one eventually. Like he had the fucking clutch right in his hand. He wanted to see. Apparently there's a merman in there. He wanted to see him attacked by a merman. There's a guy who had a seashell, and if he did something with that shell, apparently would have risen this thing up.
Like the creature from the Black Lagoon is pretty much what he really wanted to see.
Yeah. He's like, "Motherfucker, man. One of these days I'll see that fucking thing." And later that monster comes in and actually kills him.
Yeah,
so that's kind of ironic of it.
And the thing is, like, I like those kind of like the broadcasting scenes of it, but all the scenes of like they're not teenagers, they're college students. I keep calling them teenagers because they just feel like it. But all those scenes with like the kids, it was almost like so stereotypical for like the first like 40, 50 minutes that it was just kind of like, God, this is fucking retarded almost. Like I just felt, I guess because I've seen so many horror movies that I become a horror movie snob just like anything else. And I've seen so much. But then when it gets to like the last about 20 minutes or so, it becomes like one of the coolest like horror movie sections I've ever seen in a movie, where they go underground from where they are from this cabin, and then they're in this whole kind of like factory that's set up with all the different monsters from zombies to mermen. It has like a Hellraiser type guy in there to
Pinhead,
like snakes and all kinds of stuff. It's like it's like Pinhead, but he's got like blades.
He had blades in his
like
face.
razor blades,
yeah,
like
exactly.
on like a wood shop tool. I'm trying to play wood shop tool that cuts the wood.
Mm-hmm.
But you see all this cool stuff.
The angry molesting tree's there too.
Yeah, there's like flying
bats,
and there's ghosts, and there's like even
there's
little,
there's it.
Yeah, even it's in it, and all these little ghosts. And you're like, this is fucking awesome. Now, why the fuck did I have to wait an hour to see all this cool shit though? I had to put up with like a generic kind of movie, in a sense. I mean, with a little, the comedy parts are kind of actually the good parts in it. But then this last like 20 minutes, maybe a half an hour, it's probably not even half an hour, it's probably only about 20 minutes. It's just so badass, and it's such an awesome concept. You just kind of wish they utilized that more.
Sigourney Weaver comes at the end as the leader of this organization.
Director.
Yeah. Which here's where I'm going to actually kind of defend the movie, because I understand what you're saying, but I'm actually going to defend in this sense because when they were showing all of these college students, they got across that even though, okay, there's the goody two-shoes girl, there's the chick who's kind of the whore, there's the jock, there's the stoner, there's the smart kid. They didn't come across as blatantly so generic to me because they got across. They had little tidbits.
I guess because I've just seen more horror movies, so it's like I've seen this a lot.
I see what you're saying, but the thing is, because the jock, he actually seemed like a nice guy. He wasn't like, "Come on, guys, we're gonna get fucking hammered." He's like, there's a part where they even show he's intelligent. The girl is like reading some book for her class. Oh, you don't want to read that. That's boring. Read this one. It's more interesting, and plus your teacher would be more impressed with it. Just something you'd never see that kind of character say. And the chick who's supposed to be the slut, she wasn't that slutty. She was actually kind of quick-witted, kind of funny here and there. But then what ends up happening is the way the guys in the office more or less are controlling him. Because what happens is when they first come across the stereotypical like, you kids don't want to go there, you're gonna die character, and they actually acknowledge that character and they actually make fun of that character later on in the movie. The guys in the office, he calls the guys up in the office, it's like, The Lambs are on their way. Yeah, that's great, man. Like, do you have me on speakerphone? No, you're not on speakerphone. They have this whole funny bit making fun of that character. And then as it goes on, you find out it's this whole staged area. It looks like they're out in the woods. They're actually in a quarantined off area with more or less invisible electric walls to a certain degree.
Yeah.
And that's where everything else we were talking about comes from. But then what will happen is they'll be walking through something. They'll be walking through like the woods, and the girl, like, there'll be that cliche moment, like, oh, let's have sex out here in the woods. And the girl's like, nah, I don't feel like it. But what they did is they released pheromone gases, which make them a little bit more horny. And then, like, they heighten the temperature. So she ends up taking her shirt off. And that's when, it leads to the sex scene. The girl gets killed.
Well,
So,
I know they have that kind of stuff in there. I understand what, like, that's kind of the point of the movie. It's supposed to be stereotypical.
but they're showing how it happens.
Yeah.
That's what I thought was kind of interesting.
Well, I think that part's kind of interesting. Well, that's I mean, like, I like all the scenes like in the broadcasting room, or I like all those ones. It's just all the scenes with like the kids are just, it's just, I've just seen it too many times. It's one of those ones like it's just not original. And the thing is by the end of the movie, once you see what the real concept of this whole thing is leading up to, you go, that's fucking gold. If the entire movie was like that, you could have like one of the coolest horror movies ever made.
I guess I'm seeing what you're saying there. I understand that. I guess it's just one of those things throughout that whole scene, throughout all those parts, they didn't come across as like stereotypical kids, because there'd be moments like they'll walk past something, some gas will blow in their face, like, we need to split up. Wait, why the fuck are we splitting? Then the guy just runs off in a different direction, and they acknowledge things like why is, I don't remember the character's name, the guy that played Thor. Why's Tom acting so fucking weird? He never does this macho man bullshit. He's a sociology major, for fuck's sake. Like, they acknowledge that kind of thing. And the one person who actually is seeing through it all, which is the last person you expect in a horror film, is the stoner character.
Well, I like
he's immune to all this shit they're doing.
Because since he's smoking weed, he got like immune to it, which I think is kind of fun. I thought that part of the line was funny. It's one of those ones, like, yeah, I understand like how it's going about. It's not like I'm blatantly obvious.
I know that. Yeah.
But
I'm just saying the reason I like it.
It's just one of those ones, like, it's just those characters still, even the characters they start out as, I've still seen horror movies with them in those kind of characters in it anyways. Then they turn into even more stereotypical characters, and it's just one of those ones, like, I just didn't have I didn't care for the characters. I cared like none about them. They could all die for all I care and be sacrificed to Satan or whoever they were sacrificing things to. It didn't make a difference to me.
I wasn't like, no, leave him all alone. I thought the main girl was all right. I liked her. I'll be honest, the stoner guy, I didn't like it first, but then once all the weird shit started happening,
no, he became kind of cool at the end. I will say
he became the character that go ahead, I cut you off.
I said, well, he became kind of the coolest character in the long run, but just in general, it's just I don't know. The characters were just like,
they didn't bother me. They just
I guess they bothered me. And once again, I feel like I keep saying this, but it's because I've seen so many horror movies. It's just one of those ones like, I saw the first hour of that movie, excluding like the broadcasting scenes. I just saw that 1,000 times throughout my life. Those characters are that premise very common. I mean, it really just kind of was like a big ripoff of Evil Dead. I know it's supposed to be like an homage. Cabin Fever did like kind of an homage to Evil Dead, but by this point, like, there's been a bunch of movies that have kind of done that homage to Evil Dead. That it's kind of like old, stale, and it's just the concept at the end is so cool. And you're just like, well, why the fuck can't the whole movie be like this? It almost feels like almost like something's that kind of 70s buildup where you have to put up a bunch of shit, and the movie actually becomes good for the last half an hour. But like that first like hour or so is just kind of like crap. You almost don't even care to watch.
I'll be honest, all the scenes in the control room were my favorite scenes. The part when they go down to the lair where all the monsters are and where all that starts to happen.
Well,
that's my favorite.
Badass, yeah.
That I have no, yeah. I understand what you're saying. I guess it just didn't bother me that much because that's the thing. I don't watch a bunch of those. I don't watch a bunch of like generic slasher flicks. I mean, they're the ones that are always good, like Friday the 13th Part 1 and 2, Evil
all
Dead.
Friday the 13th are pretty much pretty good.
I haven't seen them all, but 1 and 2 are the ones I thought were pretty good. Evil Dead, Scream, even though that was not as classic, it's still a good one. It's just, then this one was a little bit more, since I don't really watch a whole bunch of those generic slasher flicks, which this movie's making
I didn't watch a bunch of the generic ones. I'm just talking about like the ones that created that kind of style. Just nowadays it's just kind of
it's generic.
Yeah, that's what it's become.
And then the fact that it's, since I don't really, that's what I'm more talking about, just the ones you've seen.
And the other thing too is because like since they're kind of like overplaying it to where it's supposed to be funny, it becomes like too stereotypical where it's like it's different. Like when somebody writes a script and those characters kind of come off, kind of like as like a jock
Mhm.
and the stoner and the slut, but those people aren't sitting there going like, he is jock, he is stoner, he is this. Now let's try to make that funny. They were just writing these characters as characters, and that's just maybe how they come off. So it feels a little bit more natural. Here it just feels forced. It feels almost like forced comedy to try to do that.
The only one that felt really forced to me at first was the stoner, but in the long run, I ended up liking the stoner because he was the one who was seeing through all the weird shit going on.
Mm-hmm.
But I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
I guess you got two different views there. Take it or leave it, folks.
Yeah, it's one of those movies. If you watch a lot of horror movies, you're gonna like the end no matter what. I think
Yeah, the end's awesome.
the end is really badass. That last 20 minutes, you can fucking skip the rest of the movie and just go straight to the end if you want. Just watch that last 20 minutes. You'll be really impressed. You'll be kind of confused, but you'll be really impressed.
Well, I just love my two favorite characters in the movie are the two guys in the control room because those guys are just so funny. They work off each other so good.
No, yeah, they're good. But other than that, though, I don't know. I think it's just an okay movie.
I do love,
I wouldn't care to really watch it again too much.
Mhm.
I don't know.
I'll be honest. I thought that part was pretty awesome when they had when they showed because they kept on comparing themselves to other countries because apparently there's different branches in other countries that do this, which are more or less set up for other like different nationalities of horror films.
Like
And there's
Norway had
Japan.
like goblins or something in it when they
Yeah.
just showed the quick like cuts. It was like either Norway or Sweden. It was like a goblin.
And
Was, like,
Japan
smash-
was like The Grudge and like The Ring, and there's a part when like they stop it and you see all these little Japanese girls like clapping and
like,
smiling.
they like prayer. They do like a prayer and they get rid of the ghost.
They put the ghost into a frog. Like now the ghost lives inside this happy frog. Yay! They're all cheering. You see the guy on the monitor. Fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you! We just lost a fucking 12-year-olds. I thought that part was pretty.
No,
good.
that was well. That's what I mean. Like those parts are all good. I'm not complaining about those
Yeah.
parts. That's not what I'm complaining about. It's just
the
the kids.
Yeah.
I just think the kids are just not well written, stereotypical, and something I've seen a bunch of times.
Mm-hmm.
But the rest of the movie's good. So I don't know. It's worth watching. I would never say it's not worth watching.
I enjoyed it, but you know, I guess it's a give and take kind of thing. So
Mhm.
it's out there. Check it out if you want to. If you don't want to, yeah. So anyway, I guess that's all we got for today.
Yep, that's pretty good. That's long enough.
All right. Well, I'm Ryan Dunigan.
And I'm Spencer Scott Holmes. And make sure to check us out on iTunes. Rate us. Go to our website, oldmanorange.com. Send us an email at oldmanorangepodcast@yahoo.com. And we'll see you in a bit.
All right. Thanks for listening.